All right, gang. Well, welcome to another episode of Dirt Bike Motorcycle Community. Love to have you here. Tonight we're going to go over a lot of little hardware to keep our bike in good shape. We typically play on our bikes pretty hard. I hope you do anyway. That's what makes it fun. But basically we're going to talk about armoring up our bikes. A lot of accessories that you can put on the bikes. A lot of ways you can keep the bikes protected. That way you don't have some of those minor damaging situations that could have been prevented by some little extra hardware. So let's kind of go over, we're going to work our way top down to the bottom. Let's kind of start with this little KTM 300 that we've got here. So the first thing we want to talk about is handguards. Now there are a lot of options on handguards. The handguards that you see here, these are more of a considered a flag style. So they actually mount here at the pivot point for the brake lever and the clutch lever, and they have a little bit more flex on them. So if you're okay with that, that's definitely something that you can look at. And then over here, I have a really good example of something that's more of a wraparound style on our handlebars. So this is going to give you a little more added protection. There's pros and cons to both of these. Obviously, these aren't going to take as big of a hit. I have heard of some riders being afraid of coming down through the bar if they have an incident like that. Personally, I run with this style of handguard on my bike. I love them. Even if they take a tweak, I can take them off, I can rebend them and straighten them out in the vise, and they've got a lot of longevity in them. So something to think about, something to give you a little extra protection. Plus, if you're out bashing through the trees, that's definitely going to help you out with any impacts, rocks, whatnot. I've come down on top of these and it's definitely saved my levers, my bars, those type of things. Obviously, it depends on how hard of impact you're going to make, but these will definitely give you some added protection. There are some different styles of bars that you can go with that are more kind of an ISO bar, where they actually have rubber dampening in the bar assembly as well. I apologize, I don't have one of those examples with me today, but that gives you a little extra flex. It's something that's going to make some of the rideability a little bit easier, and they will incorporate with this entire setup as well. So something to kind of take a look at there. And then there's just kind of one of the packaging units. You can get them in all multi-colors, different goodies out there. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can put on them. Now, one thing I really want to stress is getting a solid bar protector. Good pad up here. Some of the factory bar protectors are a little light. Unfortunately, you can take a pretty good hit on one of these if you come down on your chest or whatnot. So getting a little extra protection on that handlebar pad will definitely help you out on that. Plus, not going to lie, it looks kind of cool too. So think about that. And then working our way down the chain, radiator guards. These are going to help for any kind of side impact. If you take a crush this way, this is actually going to help beef up that radiator and help it keeping from getting crushed in those moments. Plus, it helps with any heavy debris, rocks, whatnot, instead of actually taking a direct hit on those radiator fins as well. So definitely look into those radiator guards. They come in all sorts of different colors. These just happen to be black. I do like the Bulletproof brand because they are made here in the US, so gotta love our country, so there you go on that. So anyway, so there's those. And then working a little further down the line, you've got a brake disc cover. Now, obviously I've got the bike spun around, but this would actually go over your brake rotor on the opposite side. That way, if you hit any shrubs or rocks or anything, it's going to help protect that debris from doing any damage. Helps keep from any items getting wrapped up in your brake caliper as well. So definitely want to think about that. Like I said, these come in all sorts of different colors. I believe the KTM right behind me has a white and black one. So you got a lot of options out there. So can definitely accessorize on some of your goodies out there. This particular front brake guard is one for an 85cc, so it's a little more robust. It's all aluminum, so they can definitely take a good hit on that. And then we're going to kind of dance on to some of our other guards here. This particular guard here is actually towards the back of the bike, and this is going to be a brake caliper guard. So if you're taking any impacts on that, this cage will give you some added protection on that as well, help you out in that process. So a lot of colors, a lot of goodies out there. That one just happens to be blue. And then this here is going to be your shark fin. This actually goes around your rear brake rotor right here, and the way it actually installs is you take the inner bracket out, the brake caliper mounts up into this assembly, and then this is actually going to go up underneath here, very heavy duty. You can bash on rocks with that. That's not gonna hurt it at all. Just keeps everything in good shape. So a lot of different options out there that you can get for the motorcycle. While I'm kind of right here, and I'm actually gonna pop this one open just so it's a little easier to see. This is going to be an exhaust guard. This one happens to be a carbon fiber one, just attaches with hose clamps, pretty easy setup on it. Basically it just comes in and you attach it here. It does take a little shaping. I'm not sure if this one's a particular brand or model for this particular bike, but you can get the idea on how that wraps up. That way if it takes any impacts, it's not gonna damage your expensive silencer on there. So that'll definitely help out, or expansion chamber I should say. So something to think about. They look cool. They definitely jazz up the bike as well and gives you some added protection on that. And then working our way down the line, we do have a few different options of skid plates. This particular skid plate here works on a link system, so it'll actually cover your rear linkage. So that'll actually, this one actually doesn't have a link system on it, but you can see how if it did have a link system on it, it would cover up that link system and give it some added protection. I do actually like the plastic or the poly style. They slide a little better than the aluminum ones. And unfortunately, the aluminum skid plates with the modern bikes now, they do flex a little bit in the frames. If you put an aluminum one on there, it'll actually gusset the frame and then the bike's not gonna actually flex and move the way it needs to. So think about getting a polyurethane style one. Those are definitely well worth getting and keeps the bottom of the bike a little happier. This is a different brand of AXP. This one's a little thicker polyurethane. They do have the link setups too where they actually cover that linkage as well. So there's some good items right there. And then I think that pretty much covers that. Some things we do want to dive into. So these are all things you can bolt on yourself if you're mechanically inclined, or if you want to have a local dealer, they can do all that. Just fit it all on the bike, and then you've pretty much got a bulletproof bike. So that definitely helps out on a lot of that too. A lot of your handguards, you can replace the front pieces here, so if they actually get scuffed up and marred up, you can replace these handguard pieces, and that way it's still going to have that nice look to it and it doesn't look too trashed out. So something to kind of keep in mind on that. Now we're going to talk about some other goodies that I would really recommend. We're not going to get too deep in the weeds on this because we could talk about gear and all sorts of stuff. Let's talk about things we need to be packing when we're riding our bike out in the forest, out in the desert. Toolkits, okay? This one just happens to be a nice little tool roll style. So it comes with various sockets. This one's got a axle wrench, a couple different sizes of wrenches, got an Allen wrench. This one's even got a pair of pliers with some wire cutters on it. So it depends on what you've got and what your bike is, and really how you want to have it set up. Personally, what I do with my setup, this is how I roll. So that goes with me everywhere I ride, okay? Obviously, I'm not taking on the racetrack because that'd be a little heavier, but if I'm going out exploring, camping, whatnot, this is what I'm gonna keep with me, okay? Now, we're gonna kind of go over some goodies on this and just kind of give a quick overview on some things that you should really be packing with you when you're out riding. I keep a little carabiner on there in case I have to use some strapping. This is 20 foot of nylon strapping. Now, this is actually kind of a tube style nylon strapping versus just a thin wafer style of nylon strapping. The reason I like this is if you have to strap someone up and cart them out of the woods, or if you have to strap someone's bike up, it's gonna give you a little better grip versus just a thin nylon strap. So something to think about there. That way you can really hoist things out if things are really in bad shape. I have a small wood saw right in here. So that way if you have to, you can cut limbs, whatnot. Hopefully you don't get stuck in overnight and you don't have to light a fire, but you can also make splints with this saw too. So if someone breaks their leg or arm or something like that, you could actually trim out some trees and actually make a splint for them if you needed to. Okay, now we're gonna delve into some of the goodies I have in my pockets here. Pretty standard stuff, flashlight, and then I do have a little micro charger for my phone. Okay, that way if I need to get a little extra battery life out of it, I've got one of those. Some major important ones, zip ties. Okay, these are really heavy duty zip ties. One of these zip ties will actually lace around a back tire. I did that on purpose. That way if I have it for the back tire or the front tire, you can actually run these all the way around, and if you blow a tire, you can run about 10 of them around there, and that'll get you usually back to your camp spot or back to your truck without that tire coming off the rim, okay? Some people use tubeless tire systems on there, so you'll actually need a tire repair kit with a nitrogen cartridge on it, so that's an option as well. Unfortunately, those don't work too hot with tube tires, so that's why I usually run these. Or if you want to get a little extra, you can actually pack your axle nuts in your toolkit, pack an extra tube. I usually pack a front tube if I need to. The front tube will go in a back tire if you really need to, so that's some options you've got there. That way you don't have to pack an extra front and rear tube. You can just pack a front tube and you can cram it in the back tube if you actually really need to. So something to think about there. And then siphon hose, okay? A couple reasons I keep this siphon hose as well. Obviously, we want to be able to draw fuel out if we need to, but if someone needs a tourniquet, you've also got a tourniquet handy as well. So this kind of doubles as two things. I ride a 4-stroke, so I don't need to have premixed gas, but if you've got buddies that are riding with 4-strokes, I'd recommend they keep one of those little, 2-strokes, I'd recommend keeping one of those small little 2-stroke bottles of oil. That way, if you do have to pull fuel out of your bike and put it in theirs, they can still actually mix their gas as well. Another little trick you can do if you do have your tools with you, you can actually use crankcase oil out of a 2-stroke for 2-stroke fuel. So it's not the most precise way, but it'll get you off the mountain if you need to. So some things you can kind of delve into and do a little research on. Then if we dig in here a little bit further, one of the most important parts, the toolkit, okay? I've gone through a lot of hassle on keeping this toolkit as light as possible. There still are some things that I want to change out on it. So basic stuff, I've got wire cutters, wrenches for the standard hardware that I've got on my bike, a couple extra zip ties, and then if we dig into here, we've also got sockets. I've got a socket wrench, I've got a multiplier right in there, another wrench, minor little bungee cord, and then I've got some electrical tape. Looks like I've pulled my safety wire out of there. I was probably using it, but safety wire is also the other thing I keep in there. If you want to put duct tape in there, that works out really well. And another handy trick is if you've got a marker, you can actually just wrap the duct tape around your marker and then just stick your marker in there. That way if you write any notes or whatnot, hey, I'm here, that kind of thing, but you've also got that duct tape handy as well. It doesn't take up as much space. So some things to kind of think about packing in your toolkit is definitely a must. So think about what you're doing, where you're going riding at, the type of environment you're riding at. I think one of our first videos that we did, I talked about keeping all your hardware, factory hardware in the same. That's going to give you a big benefit when you're putting your toolkit together, because then you don't have this big hodgepodge of hardware that you have to kind of figure out what it is. Keep it all the same, keep it factory bolts, and then you're going to be good to go there. I did have one client asked me about bolts vibrating out and losing them out on the trail. A little trick, clear silicone. You can just put a little dab on that nut. If that one's kind of problematic, then you can put that clear silicone on there and it'll keep it there. And even if it gets a little loose, it's not going to go shooting off the bodywork there. So gang, that kind of covers a little bit of what you should be doing for your bike, ways you can protect it, some things you can definitely prep up on. There's all sorts of different gear backpacks out of there that you can pick from. This one just happens to be a Climb backpack. There's a lot of other brands out there. Fox makes some. I think there's tons of them. So go and do your research, hit your dealerships, go shopping around a little bit. Take a look, see what they've got, talk to your parts and accessories guys. They can definitely fill you out on what's going to work good for you. I try to keep things as light as possible. That works better for me. If you're okay with gearing up a little heavier, that's totally okay too. I know some people that actually keep extra fuel on their bikes if they're going really long distances. So just things to kind of ponder on and think about when you're going out and doing those explorations out in the middle of nowhere. So hopefully this information helps. Hopefully it keeps you safe out there, and have a great time out there. Go out and make some memories out there, gang. Thanks, I appreciate it. Have a good night.